Byron, are you on there? Uh-oh, need to unmute and turn your camera on.
All right, I think we're on. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine, sir.
Nice. What's up? What's up? What's
up? Hey, man, listen, we're going to get into the details a little bit later. But
yeah,
introduce yourself to the people. Let them know who you are. And we'll move on into it. Everybody, this is Bryon Davis, speaker, coach, extraordinaire. And that's all I got right now. The rest is up to you. Go ahead.
Well, I'll give you the short version and then we can jump right into it. I'm Bryon Davis. Basically, in a nutshell, I'm the founder of the Authority Labs and the creator of the Speak and Scale Business Academy. I help people really master their message, and that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. But what that really means is if you have something meaningful to say, share, or sell, it's imperative that you dial in your message so that you grow your authority, you grow your audience, and you grow and scale your income, whether that be online and off. And so I've spent the last 20 plus years, it's funny for me to say that, you know, as a pastor and a motivational quote unquote speaker. I used to hate that title, but I've learned to embrace it because I don't consider myself a motivational speaker, but one who teaches people how to take their knowledge and their information and turn it into transformational experiences while they have the stage. And so that's what I've been doing personally. And over the last 10 years, I've turned my attention on really coming alongside leaders and helping them do the same thing. How do they take their experiences and their background, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and really turn that into their calling card and their signature talk so that they can advance their movement, turn their marketing into a movement, and really impact lives. And so again, over the last 15, 20 plus years, that's what I've been up to. Did you just leave? I see you.
Did leave. Because, yeah, go ahead now and get into what we're talking about. We'll have the discussion after you drop your message.
Oh, okay. So we'll go right into it. Well, here's the thing. Okay, so what Mark, what you brought me on to share is simply this. Again, the whole idea behind what I want to share is teaching people the imperative, why it's so important for them to master their message. And one of the big things that, you know, objections that I get, especially from people who don't like talking, people who don't like to communicate on stage, whether that be that stage is online or offline, is they say, well, Bryon, I'm not a speaker. I'm not a motivational speaker. I don't like to talk. I don't like to be in the spotlight. And here's the reality. The reality is this: even if you are an Elon Musk, who is an introvert, someone who does not like to be on stage. If you've ever heard Elon Musk, for those of you who don't know, he's the founder of SpaceX and Tesla, the car company. He's a game changer. He's a disruptor. He's doing a lot. The guy has a speech impediment and he hates talking. He hates being in front of people. But when he tried to launch and when he was first launching Tesla, he recognized that it was going to be important. It was going to be fundamental for him to be out front and be the face and the personal brand behind the company. You see, when he made his first billions of dollars, it was with PayPal. And he was, along with, I think, 2 or 3 other investors at the time, they played the behind the scenes card. And at that time, in the early 2000s, that worked. Businesses in the 80s, 90s, and the early 2000s, it worked. Nowadays, you know, us as consumers, we just don't like to do business with and exchange our money with big conglomerates, big no-named businesses that don't have a soul, that don't have a personality that we can connect and resonate with. You know, we now spend our dollars as conscious consumers with companies whose motto, whose ethos, whose meaning and mission, whose purpose we connect with. And if that leader, that CEO, that founder is not willing to be out front and become vulnerable and authentic and transparent in front of their audience, people that they expect to do business with, their customers and their clients, if they're not willing to do that, then they're going to leave the lion's share of the market to competitors who will. And so now in the 2020, it's imperative. It is mandatory for you. Again, I always say, if you have something meaningful to say, to share, or to sell, you've got to get used to being out front and being a leader, helping people, coming alongside other people and helping them go from their problem to their solution, go from their biggest pain to their desired result and outcome. And here's the thing about speaking and about personal branding that I always tell my clients, and I want to share, is this. Look, while I'm saying it's important for you to share your message, because it connects to your personal brand, understand that your personal brand is anything but personal. Okay, let me repeat that. Your personal brand is anything but personal. And what I mean by that is, again, back in the 80s, 90s, and the early 2000s, when we think personal brand, we think of aesthetic. We think of, a nice business card and the colors and the how we look and sound online and on our website and the persona we portray. That's what we used to think of as a personal brand. That is no longer the case. If you come off like that, if that's what you think your personal brand is, then you're going to immediately show up in the marketplace as someone who is amateur, who is salesy, and who is desperate. Okay, so that you can't think of your personal brand like that anymore. What is your personal brand now? Your personal brand is that message that connects your reason why you do what it is you do with the very reason why people will want to buy and do business with you. All right, so that's your message. That is your personal brand. It is connecting your reason why you do what it is you do to the reason why people will buy from you. So I hope right out of the gate, I really started to put to rest this idea that if you don't think you need a message and that you don't need to master that message, then you are willfully putting yourself at a disadvantage. And I don't want that. Again, if you have something meaningful to say, share, or sell, you owe it to yourself and to those who you're called to serve to dial in that message. All right, now with that soapbox, that being said, let me go into what a message is and what I mean by what is your message. Imagine being able to share one signature talk that you can share online or offline. It can be scaled down to a 15-second elevator pitch, all the way up to scaled or extrapolated out to a 2-day workshop. Okay, the way I work with my clients is I teach them how to dial in one message that they can scale. So you have one message that can turn into multiple income streams. You can take that same message that you share on stage and quickly convert that into your book, your how-to book. You can take that same message and you can turn it into an online course, or you can use the framework and the transformational teaching of that message and turn that into your signature system that people will then pay you as a consultant to come into their organization to actually share and teach. Or it can become the curriculum you use for an online course or your coaching program. The list goes on, but it all comes down to first dialing in what that signature message is. And what I want to share right now is I want to help the listeners and the audience dial in their message. And hopefully you're asking or you're coming up with some questions, because as I'm going through this, I hope that we can even take a deeper dive into the aspects of this framework that you think would be most useful to your audience. But again, when you think about your message, the reason why you do what it is you do, that connects naturally with the reason why people will want to work with you, will want to buy from you. It comes down to this. Your message is made up of 3 fundamental parts. You've got to first understand who it is you are called to serve. Okay, I think one of the biggest mistakes that we make as professionals, whether you're an entrepreneur, you're a solopreneur, you're a consultant, you're a coach, you're a speaker, you're a business owner, many times we think we can be all things to all people. When I work with speakers and I work with professionals, I'll tell them, I say, who are you called to serve? And they'll say, well, what I have is useful for everybody. Everybody can benefit from what I have to share. And that's a huge mistake. And while that may be true, that what you have can benefit just about anybody, look, the fastest way to please no one is to try to please everyone. Okay, I'm going to repeat that. The fastest way to please no one is to try to please everyone. So the first thing you have to do is decide on who specifically your message, your product, your service, your experience, who are you called to serve? For me, I've focused, even though what I share can be generalized and a lot of people can benefit from Master Your Message and the Speak and Scale Business Academy, I focus on the solopreneur, who considers himself a coach, a consultant, or an entrepreneur. Okay, they are an individual. That's who I serve. If you're a coach, consultant, or you're a speaker, that's who I serve. Okay, now again, can what I share help other people? Yes. But here's the irony around really, really narrowing down and being specific about who you serve. Once you begin to nail down who you serve, all of a sudden, as you go deep, your message then goes wide. Okay, when you dial in and decide to pick one audience that you want to start to really, really get to learn. You learn their wants and their desires, their fears, their frustrations, their pains. You start to look at, the archetype that they want to become. And in your message, you actually become the architect, that person that they want to become. When you start to really do that and you narrow down, in marketing, it's called your avatar, that singular person that your message resonates with. When you dial that in, the irony is all of a sudden your specific message becomes universal and you start to attract and widen your base. But that only happens when you first dial in who your audience is. So that's fundamental number one in mastering your message. You have to get specific on who it is you're called to serve. Who's your audience of buyers? That's number one. Number two is being able to position yourself as the go-to authority. This is huge, okay? I know a lot of people who, they've recognized the value of speaking. They don't need to be sold on speaking. When I was, training for the Olympics in '96, for those of you who don't know my backstory really quickly, I became very, very good at swimming. In fact, back in the 80s and the 90s, where you didn't see a lot of African Americans actually swim, I had an opportunity to get a full scholarship to UCLA. And then after college, I made the United States national team, toured the world, and came within 0.3 of a second of becoming the first African American to make the Olympic team. And I used that as a segue or a ramp into the world of professional speaking. People were very curious and interested to hear my story. How does this Black person, who we know Black people don't swim, right? That's what we used to believe. Now the game has changed. Unfortunately, people won't be able to chance to see the Olympics in 2020 this summer. They'll see it the next summer. But we have a whole host of young African-American swimmers that are just tearing it up. I'm so proud of being a pioneer in the sport. But in any case, back in the 90s and the early 2000s, that was an anomaly. That was unheard of. And because of that, people wanted to hear my story. And that's how I got involved in, and I was introduced to this world of motivational speaking. But very soon, I started to come up against a problem that 95, maybe even 98% of the speakers deal with when they try to make a living as a motivational speaker. And it's this: they get on this feast or famine roller coaster, because the only business model that we're ever taught is the business model that we were shown by the likes of Zig Ziglar and Anthony Robbins. I'm trying to think of some of the old school guys, Les Brown, all these guys. They just taught us, hey, get out and become very, charismatic and motivational, and then get paid by organizations, corporations, and entities to share your story, because that's the only thing I knew. And that's the way, that was my introduction into the business. That's all I thought. That's all I thought. You could only make money by going out, someone hiring you as a keynote speaker. And if they didn't hire you, then you didn't get paid, right? And I rode that roller coaster and that wave for like 10 years, okay? And some months were great, where I was getting booked every week, and then there were months where I wasn't getting booked. And then I tried to sign up and speakers bureaus and all, and then meeting planners. And then I started to move into this whole world of song and dance where I had to get a sizzle reel, and then I had to update my sizzle reel. And then I had to spend a lot of money on all these different things trying to please the gatekeepers in order to get in front of the decision makers to hire me to speak. And again, that was just a terrible business model to follow. Yet that's the only thing we knew how to do back in the day. And I realized the turn of the century, back like in 2006 and 2007, the game had changed, and the world of online, the online world, the internet world, the social media world started to create avenues where we could level the playing field, and people like you and I, Mark, could actually skip the gatekeepers and learn how to position ourselves as an authority, which is, again, my second point here, so that now the decision makers can come directly to us. We don't have to depend on the meeting planners. We don't have to depend on the speaker bureaus. We don't have to depend on other people to know who we are and then to decide and to choose us to then speak in the audience. What we can do is create our own platform where we can start sharing transformational content in a powerful way that people can then come directly to us and hire us to speak. And so once I started to figure that out, I devoted my life back in 2008. This is when I figured out I wanted to get off of the feast and famine roller coaster, and I wanted to start it to be the control my own destiny, if you will. And that's when I realized if I learned how to position myself as the irresistible, undeniable choice in my industry, how to become a trusted authority in my niche, then people will call me direct or connect with me direct. And so now that's what I teach my clients is not only do you have to identify who your ideal audience is and who the decision makers are in that audience, is who are the key influencers in that audience, you must know how to position yourself as the go-to trusted authority that people think of whenever they have a problem. And so that's element number 2. And then finally, in addition to, as you master your message, you understand, number 1, your audience. Number 2, how to position yourself as the go-to authority. Here's out of the 3, this is the one that most people miss. They never ever learn how to create and present offers, irresistible offers that sell without being salesy. Again, the only thing we know when it comes to professional speaking or using speaking professionally, because there's a difference, and we can get into that and unpack that as we go into the Q&A session, is we think, hey, the only way that I can make money as a speaker is if I'm a motivational speaker or a keynote speaker and someone hires me to speak, or I speak for free and then I have a book to attach it and try to get people to buy my book, right? And if you're really savvy, you know how to speak and then present something so that at the end of your talk, people rush the back of the room and sign up for your program. Now, those 3 ways are antiquated. And while, yes, they still work and they're still viable options, there are better options for most people that we just don't know about. Most people just don't know about. But in order to tap into all of these other things, and I alluded to them a little bit earlier, you have to first understand what is your irresistible offer. What is that one thing that you can offer your audience that you can then create multiple income streams around? What is the one problem that you're now celebrated for solving that's all you do and that's all you become known for? And then the way that you multiply your income or that you scale your income is to offer one solution but multiple levels of touch points. Okay, when my clients learn this, it's a game changer, because I don't know if you've ever fell into this trap, Mark, but I fell into this. I made this big mistake too, and that is I'm constantly creating new talks, new books. I'm writing a new book. I'm doing a new offer. I'm doing all these different things that are not congruent with my personal brand, my authority story, and my message. And as a result, I'm constantly in creation mode, while my competitors who are, scaling from 5-figure to 6-figure to 7 to even 8-figure, they figured it out. They have one singular message that they can translate into multiple streams of income that's determined by the level that your audience wants to engage with you at. Okay, there's a free level, there's a low price level, there's a immediate price level, there's multiple levels, or what they call a value ladder, that you can create around the one message that you have. And that way you can take the same thing and you just go deeper and deeper and deeper. And the deeper you go into your offer, the more you can charge a premium. But you're not reinventing the wheel, you're not starting from scratch. And the deeper you go, the more your message becomes stronger, and it resonates out even farther in the marketplace. And so those are the three keys to really mastering your message. Number one, you got to identify, who is it that I'm called to serve? Who is my audience of buyers? And then how do I connect with them by understanding where their pain is? Number two, how do I position myself as the trusted authority, where when people have a problem, they know that I am a part of the solution? Okay. And then number three, how do I present a core offer that comes across authentic and never salesy, never desperate, but I deliver my offer, and then depending on where my audience is in their own price point, they choose at what level they want to work with me. If they're kicking the tires, well, I have free content that's available that revolves around my core message. Okay, and then that free content is designed to take them on their buyer's journey, so that they now start to ascend my value ladder, so that they ultimately hire me at my premium product levels. And so those are the three things that you need in order to really master your message.
All right, all right. Did you drop the mic yet? Is there a microphone? Is there a microphone left? We need an extra microphone. Where is it?
Oh, that's funny.
Y'all, Bryon, that was hot, because there are a lot of speakers out here who are looking for this message, or considering to come into speaking or try to speak, like you alluded to. I've got this message and I want to get it out. And I just love the way you went back and got that old model, because we were both victims of that old model back in the day, because it was the only thing people taught.
Yeah.
Be as as possible, speak wherever, speak however, get out, hit the grind, get the grind.
Yeah, speak for free till you can charge a fee,
Right. Funny thing though, it went from speak for free to don't ever speak for free, right? Don't give up the content. Now all you see is, here, just take it here. Here's a whole offering, just take this with you, until you realize it's just the beginning, right?
Yep.
Crazy.
Exactly. Like I'm an advocate for taking speaking engagements that you don't get paid as a keynote, but in the process of you saying yes to that free engagement, you are setting up your value ladder. That so you can speak for free all day. You can speak, like, again, I have a part of the Speak and Scale Business Academy. I have a whole process on book yourself. If you want to go out and book, I can share some of the best practices even now. But if you want to go out, you could literally go out today, and in a matter of a week, get yourself booked on stages. Okay, that's actually the easy part. The hard part that most people don't know or don't understand, and again, I fell for this for years, learned the hard way, is no, you've got to learn how to strategically on-ramp yourself and position yourself where you are in front of people who are ready to say yes. And then let your story, because we didn't even get into that yet. How do you actually present a message where, in the process of you sharing transformational content that's succinct, I'm talking whether you get 5 minutes to speak or 15, 20 minutes to speak. By the time you finish, you've dismantled all of the inner objections people have in their mind, and their next process, or their next logical step, is to come work with you. So for me, Mark, I used to love, I used to count it a win if I went out and I spoke, and standing ovations were cool and all, but if someone came up to me and they're like, "Oh, your talk really touched my heart," I thought, okay, that was good. I know that I did a good job. But yet I went back to my car, and I was like, okay, I'm on to the next thing. And I always had this feeling of emptiness on the inside of me, because I was like, I just set my people I was called to serve, I set them up for failure. Because what happens when we go to conventions and we go to conferences and all, people get on this high and they get motivated and they get excited. But then that Monday comes, they get back to the trenches of their life, and pretty soon the motivation wanes and it falls short, right? And yet you still haven't helped them move the needle in their own life. So that's why, over even in my career, man, I started to subconsciously sabotage my own self and my own platform because I didn't want to be known as a motivational speaker. Because I had attached to this idea of, I don't just want to motivate people for a few minutes, or I don't want to get on stage and do a song and dance, and then have people come up to me and say, oh, that was so entertaining, or you inspired me. But instead I was like, man, I don't want to just be successful. I want to, and maybe it was as I got older, I wanted to be, a part of, not just success, but significance. What is it that I could share in the amount of time that I'm given, like even today, right now, that then creates a ripple effect or domino effect that actually means something in another person's life. And so that's when I had to reassess my model. I think Kendra talked about, this is a season that we're in where we have to refuel and recalibrate. I want to add another R to that. We have to also repurpose. This is a time where because we can push the pause button and we can refuel and recalibrate, and right before we get into our that initial lap, I want to challenge people to repurpose. Okay, what is it about your past? What's the good, the bad, and the ugly, the challenges that you've faced, that God has ordained this time to be a season of rest, a season where we're all pushing the pause button. How can we look at the situation we're in and set our setback as a setup for our repurpose, our reintroduction, moving forward after this?
Sounds like a sermon to me.
The 3 R's.
The 3 R's. Let's go ahead and run that again. I see someone's putting it on the timeline. Thank you for that, Kendra.
Yes.
Why? Okay, I don't know if this is the way even the phrase is correctly. The why question. Why do you speak, and what do you speak about? What makes it so difficult for people to pull that thing together to get it out?
I think because we feel like the more specific we are, the more we will pigeonhole ourselves into one thing. And we're afraid that if we don't share the right message, then no one's going to hire us, right? So we feel that, hey, if we can be as broad as possible or as vague as possible, we can cast a big enough net that we can get engagements, or we can get opportunities, or we can get on stages, virtual stages or real stages. But the counterintuitive truth is that in order to dial in what your message is, you've got to first uncover what problem you want to be celebrated for solving. All right, before, even when I work with business owners and I challenge them to look at their product, service, or experience, I'm like, okay, what is the problem in the marketplace your product, service, or experience solves? Okay, because a lot of people get great ideas. They have a great idea for a talk or a sermon or whatever. It excites them, and then they'll go and try to build this whole thing out. I see this with authors too. They have an idea, great idea for a book, and they spend months, even years, trying to get this thing out. They finally, some of them, a few, get it done. But then they realize, now I got to figure out how to market it. When if they just would have decided to go out into, once they decide who they're going to serve, identify a real need that's currently existing in the marketplace. Where is the biggest pain? I always tell my clients, find the pain before you create your product. Find the pain before you create your talk. Always find the pain. And then before anyone starts writing their talk or their message, I say, do a treatment, create a treatment. And I stole this from the world of, you and I know a lot of people who are in the movie industry and that sort of thing, the entertainment industry. Whenever you are pitching a film, people ask you for a treatment. A treatment is, okay, what is that succinct 3 or 4 sentence paragraph that gives me the gist of the story? Okay, well, I challenge people, what is that treatment? Once you identify the pain you're going to be called to solve, then what is that treatment? What is the narrative that really dials in and amplifies that pain? Give you an example. For me, I hope, people really, really turn their experiences into a signature talk that turns into multiple income streams, right? If you want to create, 5 figures a month with one signature talk, if that's your goal, I'm your guy, right? So that's my treatment right there. My audience is, speakers, consultants, coaches, but what is the experience I want to give them? What is the offer? Well, it's that. It's how do you master your message? How do you create multiple streams of income with one signature talk? That's so the answer, so again, to answer your question, to kind of go back to it, is initially dial in and get rooted in the problem. Because once you do that, then you can create a message around that. And then you can start to draw on stories of your own life or the lives of people you've gotten results with. Okay, these are your, what I call your case stories, turning testimonials into case stories that do the heavy lifting for you.
See, right there. And let me tell you something, this brother here can go on the rest of the night with this in. So right quick, Bryon, before we wrap this down, I'm definitely have to have you back on. Definitely want to have you on Hustle and Grit, because your story from the Olympics, and here comes the true transparent disclosure. Y'all, this is my first cousin. And we grew up in Cleveland, and I watched this go in. We laughed at Bryon. We would go over Bryon's house and say, why do you have that thing in your room hanging upside? You remember the American Gigolo? He hanging upside down, doing sit-ups and push-ups. Bryon was always a little different than everybody else. Different than everybody else. And you see what it got him, right? He got him to UC, out of college to go swim on a scholarship, to us watching him in the Olympics trials, trying to make that team. You talking about rooting, that we were all rooting and praying at the same time. And for you to, I was like, did he not make it? He finished the race. We don't know anything about swimming, but that is the beginning of his journey. But there's so much more in there. You got to grit to tell how you got to your moment right now. But go ahead and tell the people where they can get in touch with you, your program. I know what they don't know is you was selling the whole doggone presentation, because I heard you. So go ahead and tell them where they can get you and connect with you, cuz. Go ahead.
Well, first of all, they can go to byron.cc, BYRON.cc. That is the hub that connects you to everything related to the Authority Labs, related to Speak and Scale, the Business Academy. And when you go on the website, I want everybody, again, we just, like you said, scratch the surface. What I shared with you comes in a comprehensive free download. And see, I'll tell you, this is not like one of those downloads where you go in and you just get the surface. People think I'm crazy, but this is what I work with my clients through. If you want to create a signature talk from scratch, you follow what I call the SMART method of message creation. This takes you through, your introduction, your bridge, your transformational content, your offer, everything, and you can create one talk that turns into multiple income streams, and you don't even have to work with me. But if you're interested in creating a signature talk, you want to download, Signature Talk Secrets, you can get that on byron.cc.
There it is. Sir, I thank you for your time, and we will definitely have to have you back on and do some other stuff, is what we do.
I know, I didn't even get a chance. I got all my notes here. I was just gonna be giving people like nuts and bolts. I want people to be able to take this and literally, but people should be able to go out and build a talk. And invite me back on. We'll talk nothing on how about this? Promise you, let's talk about the 5 core stories that a person needs to tell about themselves and their business, and in 5 real world examples of how you can literally go out and get hired and paid to speak in the next 7 days. Those we could literally spend a whole talk on those things right there.
We can do it, bro. Right now I got nothing but time. So we